Welcome back to the Stevens Auditorium on the campus of Iowa State University. Our next round is a lightning round really quick before we get into foreign policy and national security. Are we actually missing a candidate on the stage? We are. She'll be right back. Congresswoman Bachmann. There she is. That's okay. Okay. There we go. Texas Governor Rick Perry obviously is not here tonight. He is giving a speech on Saturday in South Carolina. We're told he's getting into this race, but he's not answering questions tonight. He's not taking part in the straw poll on Saturday. So is he outsmarting you? 30 seconds, Congressman Paul.
Well, maybe he didn't want to face up to the challenge, for all we know.
Are you worried about this strategy?
Oh, no, I'm very pleased that he's coming in because he represents the status quo, and I feel like I'm sort of separated from the other candidates with my strong belief in liberty and limited government and a different foreign policy and want to deal with the Fed, so he'll just dilute all their votes.
Okay. Mr. Kane, what about Texas Governor Perry?
Welcome to the contest. From my perspective, it doesn't bother us or my campaign. That's just one more politician, and that makes this business problem solver stand out that much more.
Governor Huntsman, your thoughts?
We all need prayers, and I hope he offers a whole lot for everybody here on this stage. But you know what, aside from that, we also need jobs in this country, and I hope that if he does get in this race, he broadens and expands this dialogue about job creation. The people in this nation know that President Obama has had 2.5 years to get it right. On the most important issue we face, expanding the economy and creating jobs, he's fundamentally failed us. So anyone who's going to expand this group a little bit and brings a little bit of savvy on the subject, I think is a net plus.
Former Governor Sarah Palin is here in Iowa this week as well. She's not in this race yet either. Congresswoman Bachmann, is she stealing your thunder?
I like Sarah Palin a lot. We are very good friends, and I think there's room in the race for Governor Perry, Sarah Palin, or even Brett, you too, if you want to throw your hat in the race.
I'll be out of this one. Speaker Gingrich, any thoughts on either of those?
Well, I want to echo what Congressman Bachmann just said. You know, Mayor Giuliani has every right to run, and I think he's talking to some folks about it. Governor Perry has a great record of job creation in Texas, and I think is a very formidable person. Governor Palin has a nationwide audience. And I know it's a shock sometimes to political folks, but the first delegates are chosen in January. People have lots of time to come and play. Now, they're missing this great opportunity to be with you guys and have all the fun that we're having here tonight. But, you know, that's their prerogative, and I look forward to anybody who wants to running for office. That's what America's all about.
I'll split this next round with Chris Wallace. The topic, foreign policy and national security. Governor Pawlenty, another 5 U.S. soldiers were killed today in Afghanistan after the single biggest loss, that helicopter crash over the weekend. Last weekend, almost 10 years after 9/11, after the killing of Osama bin Laden, with casualties mounting there, costs adding up, many people calling the government there corrupt. Is it still worth it?
Well, first of all, Brett, let's just stop and pause and reflect upon the loss of life, the 5 brave members of the military that you mentioned, as well as the 30 that were lost about a week ago, and all the others who've been lost or wounded in that conflict. We owe them not just our words of thanks and appreciations, but to their families, our thoughts and prayers. We wouldn't have the country we have without those brave men and women. We owe them our all, not just with our words, but with our deeds. But as to Afghanistan, we were justified in the invasion. It was 10 years ago. People killed Americans. We needed to go there, find them, bring them to justice, or kill them. But in terms of where we are now, 10 years removed, I was there last summer with Governor Perry, by the way, and met with General Petraeus. He thought it would take about 2 years from last summer to have an orderly and successful wind down of our mission in Afghanistan, at least in terms of significant troop withdrawal. President Obama has accelerated that faster than either General Mullen or General Petraeus recommended. I would have accepted their recommendations and drawn them down a little slower.
So it's still worth it?
It is still worth it, but we're going to have a successful drawdown, not one according to Barack Obama's campaign calendar next year.
Governor Romney, in June 2009, you argued that America's willingness to fight wars of liberation, quote, nurture democracy and human rights all over the world, was what made America, quote, the hope of the earth. Basically a full embrace of George W. Bush's freedom agenda. Yet last debate about Afghanistan, you said this, quote, we've learned that our troops shouldn't go off and try to fight a war of independence for another nation. Those two statements are dramatically different. Have your views changed?
No, I have the same view, and it's this, which is that we have helped the people of Afghanistan establish freedom from the Taliban. But now we're at a point where they're going to have to earn and keep that freedom themselves. This is not something we're going to do forever. We've been there for 10 years, and we've been training the Afghan troops. Sometime within the next 2 years, we're going to draw down our troop strength and reach a point where the Afghan military is able to preserve the sovereignty of their own nation from the tyranny of the Taliban. That has to happen. It's time for the troops of Afghanistan to take on that responsibility according to, as I said in that last debate, according to the timetable established and communicated by the generals in the field. And those generals recommended to President Obama that we should not start drawing our troops down until after the fighting season in 2012. He took a political decision to draw them down faster than that. That is wrong. We should follow the recommendation of the generals, and we should now look for the people of Afghanistan to pick up their fight and preserve that liberty that's been so dearly won.
Speaker Gingrich, as President Obama was deciding what to do in Libya, you were asked what you would do. You said, quote, exercise a no-fly zone this evening, communicate to the Libyan military that Gaddafi was gone, and that the sooner they switched sides, the more likely they were to survive. After the president launched military action a few days later, you said, quote, I would not have intervened. I think there were a lot of other ways to affect Gaddafi. Are you now certain about the way forward in Libya and where it stands now?
Let me suggest this is a good example of a gotcha question.
No, it's not. These are things you said.
No, go back previous to Greta Van Susteren 2 weeks earlier when I said what we should do is go in covertly, use Egyptian and other allies, not use American forces.
But, Mr. Speaker, you said these two things.
That's right. I said that thing specifically after the president that day announced gloriously to the world as President of the United States that Gaddafi has to go. And I said, if the President of the United States is serious about Gaddafi going, this is what we should do. The following interview came after the same president said, well, I didn't really mean go meant go. I meant go meant maybe we should have a humanitarian intervention. Now, the fact that I was commenting on Fox about a president who changes his opinion every other day ought to be covered by a Fox commentator using all the things I said, not handpicking the ones that fit your premise.
Mr. Speaker, the question was, are you now certain the way forward in Libya?
I have a red light, but if I'm allowed to answer.
You're allowed to.
I talked recently to General Abizaid, who is probably the most knowledgeable senior general and speaks fluent Arabic, who said to me, we have a bigger strategic deficit than our fiscal deficit. I think we need to rethink everything in the region. I think we need to rethink Afghanistan, we need to rethink Iraq, and I think we need to recognize that right now Iran is on offense, and our troops are in danger everywhere in that region, and I think we need a very serious national debate about it.
Governor Huntsman, you are the former ambassador to China for the Obama administration. Last week, a top cybersecurity firm detailed new instances of cyber espionage, hacking into U.S. computers. Experts said, quote, all signs point to China. Would you, as president, consider cyber attacks acts of war?
Absolutely. This is the new war field, cyber intrusion is. What we need in this country is to use this issue as not only an economic development tool, but also a national security tool. We need early warning capabilities, and we need safeguards, and we need countermeasures. Not only have government institutions been hacked into, but private individuals have been hacked to. It's gone beyond the pale. Listen, this is also part of a dialogue that has not taken place with the Chinese. We need a strategic dialogue at the highest levels between the United States and China. That is not happening. This is a relationship, the United States and China, we are both on the world stage. As far as you can see into the 21st century, we are going to have to deal with the Chinese. We better get it right. I understand this relationship. I've been at it for 30 years. I think it'd be a great thing to have a president of the United States who knew something about China.
I'll turn to my colleague, Chris Wallace.
Governor Pawlenty, you say we have to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. You also recently said that Syrian President Assad must go. Would you rely on the same idea of international sanctions that President Obama has been using, or would you be more forward-leaning in possibly using military action?
Well, first of all, Chris, we need to use an increasing number of tools and measures. As to Iran, I believe we should undertake every plausible step to deny their intentions and their plans to get a nuclear weapon. That will include sanctions. That will include some of the good work that you saw with some of the scientists on their way to work in Iran. That will see some of the good work that you saw with the computer virus. But in the end, we should take every plausible step to deny that intention. As to Syria, Bashar al-Assad is mowing down and killing his people, up to 2,000 right now, and the President of the United States, Barack Obama, will not say he should go. Until recently, he and Hillary Clinton suggested that Bashar Assad was a reformer. He's not a reformer, he's a killer. This is another example of naive foreign policy by this president, and worse yet, he sticks his thumb in the eye of our best friends around the world that we should stand with. For example, Israel. He repeatedly sticks his thumb in Israel's eye. We should stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel. There should be no daylight between us and the nation of Israel. They're one of our best friends in the world.
Congressman Paul, you say that President Obama is not too soft on Iran. You say that he is too tough on Iran. I want to put up some of your statements.